Welcome back to Cheddar News. The pandemic has changed so many aspects of our professional working lives, and Glassdoor is taking it one step further with its acquisition of social networking site Fishbowl. The new endeavor, dubbed Fishbowl by Glassdoor, will enable professionals to connect and gain insights to advance their careers in this new world of work. Joining us now is Glassdoor CEO Christian Sutherland-Wong. Christian, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to start here. Why was acquiring Fishbowl the right move for Glassdoor, and why now?
Yeah, sure. So Fishbowl is a fast-growing social network for working professionals. What it creates is a platform for people to have meaningful conversations with their colleagues or people in their industry and can really get their questions answered. So at the heart of what Fishbowl is doing is workplace transparency. And that's the core of what Glassdoor has always been about for the last decade. And so with this acquisition of Fishbowl, what we're looking to do is write the next chapter in workplace transparency.
In terms of the survey, what did your survey, tell you about what employees want in this new work world that we're all still adapting to, quite frankly?
Yeah, a couple of interesting facts from the survey that came out, and we learned that, not surprisingly, I think we're all feeling it, almost half of our employees reported feeling isolated working from home right now during COVID, where they're not getting their in-person connectivity with their colleagues. They're not meeting with people that are in their industry. And so what we actually see with Fishbowl is that people decided to flock to the Fishbowl's platform. Fishbowl, at the beginning of the pandemic, saw a 3x increase in people coming to the site. And now today it's more than 1 million professionals who are engaging on Fishbowl. The other thing we know is that even after the pandemic, people are the world of work is going to be fundamentally different to before the pandemic. Same survey told us that nearly half of employees expect to be remote in some form or another, whether that's hybrid or fully remote. And so again, speaks to this need that people are going to have for connectivity when they're not going to be in the office, and this need that people have just to get their questions answered on what's going on in their workplace or what's going on in places they're considering working. And so again, it just really elevates what Glassdoor and what Fishbowl can do together and impact people's lives.
In terms of what Fishbowl and Glassdoor can do together, I wonder if you can go into a little bit of detail here on what will users be able to do, when they log on to Fishbowl by Glassdoor.
Yeah, so one of the first integrations that we've pulled together with this announcement of the acquisition is to bring some of the power of Fishbowl into Glassdoor's platform. So one of the key parts of Glassdoor's site is the company pages, where you go to read reviews, where you go to see ratings on companies. Now users on many of these company pages will also be able to see what people are saying on Fishbowl about these companies. So that could be employees of that company or what people outside of the company are saying about this particular company, which we know is so relevant to job seekers who are considering a company.
When we look at the labor market right now, there is, it's no secret that there are a ton of jobs out there that employers are really struggling to get, workers to come back. In terms of how employers can use the platform to attract employees, are there ways for that?
Yeah, that's right. So one of the strongest use cases of Glassdoor for employees is for companies to manage their employer brand on Glassdoor. They know that when job seekers are thinking about a new job and where they're going to look and research companies, it's going to be on Glassdoor. And increasingly, we expect that to happen on Fishbowl. And so both Glassdoor and Fishbowl give me great platforms for employers to manage their company's employer brand, and also just a great place to recruit on our platform. And then the other side of it is we are both great platforms to get insights on what your employees are saying, so that you can kind of understand what employees think, and then also craft your company culture to match what your employees want.
Yeah. One of the key features that certainly was interesting to me and even to our team here, we were chatting about it earlier, was this anonymous chat feature. Can you break that down, how it works and how helpful that may be to prospective employees?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I love about Fishbowl, and it's also been a part of how Glassdoor works, because I think anonymity is really helps in many ways, create a safe space for people to talk candidly and to have meaningful conversations with one another. And so one of the things I love about using Fishbowl is that we have our own Glassdoor company bowls. That's Glassdoor employees coming onto Fishbowl to have anonymous chatter. And so Fishbowl allows people to talk about things. It could be water cooler conversations. It could be really meaningful stuff that's impacting their experience as being an employee at Glassdoor. And it gives me an opportunity as a leader to come in. And there are times where I feel it's great for me to also talk in an anonymous way within the threads. But there are other times where I'll identify myself. And, Fishbowl allows you to take, either option where it makes sense. And I think there are times where anonymity is really powerful. And there are other times where bringing your identity can be really helpful as well.
In terms of understanding a bit of the strategy, behind this acquisition, how does it help, compete with big competitors out there for you? I think of, LinkedIn, for example.
Yeah, one of the things that I was really attracted to with Fishbowl and really loved about kind of the product they've built is that it's really meeting for me an unmet need. There are other sites out there that you can talk with professionals, showing your professional identity. And I think that, leads to a different type of experience for users. But, with Fishbowl, there's this unmet need of people who are colleagues or in the same industry who want to have candid and meaningful conversations with one another. There's really no other network out there that allows this. And so that's why I'm really excited to bring the power of Fishbowl on into the Glassdoor platform.
And to that point there, I think that's why that anonymous chat feature really stood out to me in terms of being able to have a candid conversation about what's the scoop really going on within the company versus kind of those surface level conversations when you're, reaching out to an employee, but not on that anonymous basis. Lastly here, really quickly, I'm just curious, what sectors are you seeing really in most demand right now, on Glassdoor? Is it kind of what we expect, the hospitality and leisure, or is it something else?
Yeah, you're seeing growth across the board, and it's all come in kind of different stages. The beginning of the pandemic, of course, hospitality and leisure really fell down, and so there's been a big bounce back in that part of the industry. But also even within the broader white collar sectors, again, at the beginning of the pandemic, people went into their shells. And now you're seeing a real reverse of that. People are starting to talk about it as a great resignation. So we're seeing that on our platform. We're seeing that in the survey data where, almost half of respondents talk about their expectation they're going to be swapping jobs in the next 12 months. And again, they're going to be looking for where do they get their information and where do they go next. And again, we expect them to increasingly be looking to the Glassdoor's platform and more so Fishbowl in the future as well.
Yeah. Actually, lastly here, if you don't mind me asking, I think about the last 18 months, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you guys have seen over the last 18 months, in this pandemic with the labor market or even just for your company individually?
Yeah. One thing that we saw at the very beginning of the pandemic 18 months ago was that we had a decision ahead of us on do we send workers home, and so we made the call to send workers home early, and then we saw a lot of companies follow suit, and then we got affirmation later that was the right decision, not just for doing the right thing, for putting people's health and well-being first, but also employees really appreciated that, and we saw on the Glassdoor's platform a lot of reviews. And a big ratings trend on people respecting companies who put the health and safety of their workers first. And now, we're seeing a lot of chatter on our platforms around, how companies should be reacting to the COVID vaccines. And one of the most detailed threads we have on Fishbowl right now with more than 2,000 comments is people talking about this. And so this is, another decision for a lot of companies to grapple with. And I think companies are starting to come up with their policies, but I think this one's still in the midst of playing out.
Yeah, and in terms of that anonymous feature or just reaching out to understand what a company's policy is, that is immensely helpful to those who value that, and that is a concern for them, to your point. 2,000 people chatting about this on Glassdoor right now. Thank you so much for being here, providing some key insight for us, Glassdoor CEO Christian Sutherland-Wong.